Welcome back with another banger. Yeah. Hit that like, sub it up, the react bounce. Back with another banger. Hit that like, sub it up, the react bounce. Y'all feel me? Let's run it.
Why are so many Americans angry about Maduro's capture if so many Venezuelans are celebrating it? Well, have you noticed that a lot of the celebrations you're seeing are actually from Venezuelans outside of Venezuela? This is in Buenos Aires, Argentina. This is in Chile. This is in Spain, Madrid. And the reason for that is kind of dark because since 2014, which is roughly when Maduro came into power, Venezuela has experienced one of the largest migration exoduses in recent history. Just imagine losing over 20% of your entire population. Since 2014, nearly 8 million people have left, making it one of the largest displacement crises in the world. And there is a fair reason why. Post-2014, the country's inflation spiked over 1.3 million%. And this was before the US sanctions hit. And it got much worse in the decade that followed. Their GDP shrank by about 75%, which is one of the largest contractions ever for a non-war country. They saw widespread poverty, malnutrition, severe shortages of food, medicine, and essential services, political repression. I mean, the list goes on. Venezuela is not poor today because it lacks resources, people, or skills. It's poor because its institutions collapsed. But here's the distinction. The vast majority of 2025 polls show that Venezuelans outside of the country support military intervention, while those still living there don't. Then again, Venezuela did recently pass a law declaring anyone who expresses support for US military action a traitor. So that could have skewed the results slightly. But it's not just their location that split opinion. When pollers across Latin America were split into their political ideology, 79% on the right said that US military action was the best way to topple the Maduro regime, while less than 4% on the left said the same. The left said that diplomatic negotiations or social protests were the way to go. And that's where America comes in, because the biggest divide there is politics. While the first polls following Maduro's capture suggest that 41% oppose and 34% support, when you switch to the voters' politics, you'll see something very similar to those in Latin America. I mean, there's even protests breaking out in cities like New York with signs reading "No blood for oil." So why are Americans angry? Well, to put it bluntly, their country doesn't have the best track record for regime changes. And many Americans today still live with the memories of the devastating consequences those have caused in places like Cuba, Libya, and Iraq. They say that this is blatant imperialism, that this is a violation of international law, that Trump doesn't have the right to unilaterally say that their country is now running another sovereign country. But those who support this, including many Venezuelans, say Maduro was a murderous dictator that was ruining the lives of millions. And many are thanking Trump, saying that for the first time in decades, Venezuela is free and maybe finally they can return home. But the question is, what do you think? Is this the beginning of Venezuela's return to its former glory? Or is it a dangerous precedent and the start of something much worse?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's what Venezuela wants. It does set a new line in the sand when it comes to U.S. politics, and how other countries may react, you know? I feel like it may be a domino effect or something. Like, yo.
Compré un poco más de lo que normalmente compro. Por supuesto tampoco hay dinero para comprar demasiado, pero un poco más de lo acostumbrado.
Exigiendo nos devuelvan a Nicolás.
No sabía qué es lo que estaba pasando. Yo pensé que era que el cerro se estaba cayendo. Yo siento miedo por mi vida, yo siento miedo por todo lo que pase, bueno o malo, yo siento miedo igual.
Todo dentro de la Constitución. Lo aprendimos del comandante Chávez frente a las vicisitudes. Si hay algo que el pueblo venezolano y que este país tiene muy claro, es que jamás volveremos a ser esclavos, es que jamás volveremos a ser colonia de ningún imperio, del tinte que sea.
I'm not even going to play around anymore. Hit me with the works. Iraq, Venezuela, go! We're giving them full opportunity to do it the easy way. And when it doesn't work, we'll do it the hard way.
If we could do things the easy way, that's fine. And if we have to do it the hard way, that's fine too.
Chemical weapons is a threat to the United States.
Fentanyl poses a chemical weapons threat to the United States.
Al-Qaeda terrorists inside Iraq.
Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere.
We can get rid of Saddam. It could really begin to transform the region.
There's an opportunity to transform the entire region.
Bringing freedom and democracy.
Democracy and freedom can serve as a beacon of hope.
Shocking up.
Oh my God, Venezuelans are celebrating. It's only leftists and liberals that are upset that Maduro was captured. I would like to kindly jog everyone's memory because I know how forgetful we can be when it comes to history. So the year is 2003 and the US invades Iraq. And Iraqis are celebrating because they hate Saddam Hussein. So they welcome US invasion. They are in the streets celebrating.
People were just pure exhilaration. At that point in time, you think this might just work. And I remember seeing a guy was carrying a huge couch on his back. And he turns and says, "Yay, America."
The US invades Iraq under the pretense that Saddam Hussein is harboring nuclear weapons, which, by the way, they never find. And between the years of 2003 to 2011, America kills over 1 million Iraqi people. The country becomes a failed state. And if you speak to Iraqis today, they will tell you how they have deep resentment towards the United States. The country that they once welcomed becomes the country that they deeply hate and resent, and rightfully so. Soon as the US leaves Iraq, the country then goes into the hands of ISIS, the terrorist organization. You see, it's very easy to start a war. It's very easy to take out a dictator. It's very easy to bring down a regime. These are things that I will never argue that America is not good at. America is great at these things, but it's incredibly difficult to end a war. It's incredibly difficult to establish a new government that brings stability to a nation. To install a new government, to bring stability to a nation, you have to create infrastructure, roads, school, hospitals. That costs money, and America is not in the business of charity, okay? America spent $2.7 trillion in Iraq, US taxpayer dollars. Where did that money go? Private military contractors. So when people are like, Venezuelans are celebrating, why can't you just be happy for them? My response isn't, oh, I must be wrong. My response is, I have seen this before. I don't just remember history. I lived through this history. And you can't say that we as Americans don't get to have an opinion on what happens in Venezuela when it's going to be our tax dollars that goes into creating violence and instability in Venezuela. Just like that $2.7 trillion that went to creating instability in Iraq was US taxpayer dollars. The last thing I want to say is that despite being critical of many different governments, I do not ever call for regime change in Iran, China, Saudi Arabia, Cuba, etc. because I don't have to deal with the consequences of what that would look like. That would be the total collapse of a system. Do you understand what I mean? Industries would collapse, currency would collapse, instability would immediately take over. I don't know how people feel so comfortable talking about regime change. Even if you live in diaspora, you don't have the right to call for regime change. And I wish people would be more sensitive to that.
What's the timetable on how long it's going to restabilize Venezuela and how much is it going to cost? Shout outs to Naley by Nature.
Good night. Happy New Year.
If you're shocked the US attacked Venezuela, it's because you don't know about the 250-year empire cycle theory. Talked about this in a previous video. Check it out. It was no show of power. It's the 7th stage decline. There is 3 reasons for doing this shit on January 3rd. In September 2019, banks stopped lending to each other overnight. Fed had to print 500 billion just to keep banks open. Then COVID hit and it gave the perfect cover to print $10 trillion more. That money is now causing 20% inflation. The problem is that America needs to sell $2 trillion this year in bonds to keep the government running, but China stopped buying. Venezuela was about to announce in February they're selling oil for Chinese yuan. And if that happened, every other country would follow. Dollar dies instantly. The orange creature needs a win before 2026 midterms. His polls are tanking because groceries cost double than what he promised. A quick word that lowers gas prices helps save his presidency. Now the truth that hurts is that America doesn't produce shit. So the only thing keeping America afloat is printing that fake paper, monopoly money. You can't print food, you can't print oil. Venezuela has all these fucking resources, all the shit needed for the reindustrialization of America. Without stealing these resources, they can't pretend that they're gonna rebuild. The empire is like a desperate heroin addict. Dealers are managing its debt for profit. The addiction is real. The dollar system needs fixing all the time. Trustees, BlackRock, the Fed, Wall Street, they know the junkie is dying. They're giving it enough heroin to keep it signing papers while transferring all the assets to them before he ODs. The whole thing is fucking chaotic with different groups trying to profit. This is how every late stage empire always collapses. Simple math.
Simple math. If that's the case, we're cooked. Shout out to Omnia Borland. Just great commentary right here. Bringing receipts. Like, yo, I think this might be a lot deeper than what people think moving forward.
Nicolas Maduro is being held in this federal detention center in Brooklyn. But was his capture legal, and will that matter in a U.S. court? International law is very clear. The use of military force against another state's sovereignty is prohibited, except in cases of self-defense if an armed attack occurs, or if the UN Security Council authorizes it. And legal experts say criminal activity, such as drug trafficking, does not meet the accepted international standard of an armed conflict that would justify self-defense. But the Trump administration says it carried out a targeted law enforcement operation. The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Mr. Maduro was not a legitimate president and that he was a fugitive from American justice. Legal analysts believe that even if Nicolas Maduro argues that he was illegally brought to the United States, the judge may decide that doesn't outweigh its criminal jurisdiction or the court's legal authority to hear and decide the case against Maduro.
Did you know that everything that's happening in Caracas, Venezuela was already foretold to us? In this Call of Duty, the United States sent special forces in order to take over the dictator of Venezuela. Caracas, Venezuela to be exact. But this is where it gets crazy. Pay attention. This Call of Duty came out 12 years ago. You want to know what else happened 12 years ago? Nicolas Maduro started his presidency 12 years ago. Look at the opening scene to the final act.
To us, Rourke was a legend. A man could walk through hell.
They based the game 12 years in the past. Is that coincidence? What else is crazy is the similarities between the dictator of the Call of Duty game and Maduro. The dictator in the game is named Diego Almagro. Look at the characteristics that Diego Almagro had in the game. He would torture and imprison US-born individuals. Sounds very similar to Maduro, wouldn't you say? He has been accused of crimes against humanity, including excessive force, arbitrary detentions, torture. Not only did this Call of Duty get the exact timeline down to a T, it also got the exact location, Caracas, Venezuela. I really do hope that people start opening their eyes and realizing that they have to tell us what they do before they do it. These occultists and elites believe if they tell us beforehand what they're doing, they won't pay the price in the afterlife. It's called karmic retribution. This is their belief. Search it up. There is no such thing as coincidences.
That was a good catch right there. Shout out to Mago13. Man, I remember when that game came out. They got it to the exact location. That's wild. Truth hidden in plain sight. Clear example.
I'm in Cúcuta on the border between Colombia and Venezuela, and you can see behind me that the Colombian government here has upped its troop numbers amid fears over a destabilized regime in Venezuela. They're concerned, of course, for their own country. This is a part of Colombia where left-wing rebel groups, particularly the ELN, move between this porous border and have been traditionally closely aligned with the government of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. There are concerns by the government of Gustavo Petro in Colombia that will bring the conflict in Venezuela, or the potential impending conflict, over the borders here into Colombia too. Furthermore, the government here is concerned about the influx of immigrants and refugees fleeing potential violence in Venezuela. More American intervention, leaving this city, which has been inundated with refugees in the past, again stretched to breaking point, as those refugees maybe come this way en route to the United States. All of that isn't clear whether or not it will unfold. For now, the Colombian government is taking preventative measures. Really, though, the main concern is the other side of the border, in Venezuela. Few journalists can get in if they are not Venezuelan, and currently only a trickle of traffic is coming backwards and forwards. These are the people who move back and forwards over this border to buy food, to work on either side, the normal movement of traffic in either direction.
That sinking feeling that you have at the pit of your stomach about Venezuela, you need to listen to it. You need to understand that we have destabilized the world order. We have removed the head of state from another country. Other nations want to do this exact same thing to accomplish their goals. The first of many of these consequences will be Ukraine. Donald Trump is about to have a Chamberlain moment. Chamberlain came back from a meeting with the mustache man, waving a piece of paper saying, "Peace in our time." 5 months later, the mustache man was invading more territory. Putin is going to sit back for about 5 or 6 months after peace is achieved. Then he's going to go straight after Zelensky. Russia will strive to have the moral equality with the United States by doing almost the exact same mission that we did. That way, we have no right to protest. The second of these consequences is with Taiwan. Whenever a move like this happens, it destabilizes the world order, as I said before. Taiwan and China has been at each other's barrel for a half of a century. And I think that China is about to make a move on Taiwan very soon. In fact, it would make sense to do it alongside with any type of Russian counterattack on Ukraine or Europe.
I can definitely see where he's coming from. Shout out to Keith Goldsby, who pretty much predicted it last month that this all would happen. I believe on the 11th of December. If this was to happen, what he says, like, will we see these countries capture another country's president and do this whole extraction thing? Yo.
Do you guys want to know why we just stole Venezuela? Because the US dollar blew up. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, the short position that JP Morgan has been holding on silver, which I think is about $8 trillion short silver, it blew up. That's why JP Morgan flew their entire team to Singapore on December 2nd. Their entire metals team. Why? Because they needed boots on the ground to try and put the fire out, because those short positions in silver blew up. So nobody wants to sell us oil for the US dollar, and we import a lot of oil. So we had no choice. We just stole Venezuela because the dollar blew up. Yeah. Wake the fuck up, people, man. The secret societies are trying to destroy America because we are the last stronghold against their world domination. Yep. And all of you people in the occult, it's coming. You're being exposed. So sign, share, and promote the Full Disclosure Act, people. This shit's getting serious. Stop being so fucking pathetic and apathetic. Peace.
Shout out to Number Master 22. Make sure you go check out FullDisclosureAct.com for more details. Sounds like a lot of things are about to be exposed. At this point, we might as well get the truth.
So, Nicolas Maduro gets captured by the US, but you guys, are we watching a movie? Let's get into it. Now, first, a lot of people are saying America invaded Venezuela to stop the narco-terrorism, but also it's the oil, in which they have more than anybody else, with over 300 billion barrels of crude oil. Now, it's important to note that this is the thick, rich, dark crude oil because there's three types. There's light, medium, and dark, in which we have refineries in Texas and Louisiana to refine this brand new oil. But question, how many times does this guy need to change during his capture? Because it seems like they're making this whole process nice and cozy, don't you think? And how did this person know that all this is going down? Because this account on Polymarket made 4 predictions, putting up about $30,000 and profiting over $400,000. And some of those predictions says Maduro out by January 31st, will the US invade, etc. And these were just placed just hours before the attack. Not to mention, after all this goes down, the US secures a silver smelter deal to process metals, which is not surprising because Venezuela also has some of the biggest rare earth mineral deposits, and oh look, it's financed by JP Morgan, a central bank. Just like this guy congratulating Trump on his victory, who is a central banker himself, a Rothschild. And you guessed it, here's all the countries that didn't have a central bank, and some of these stories, well, you know how they ended. Now, there's various pictures of him giving up the thumbs up sign. He looks very happy for somebody who's facing narco-terrorism charges, but maybe he handed all this over on a silver platter. Have you guys ever heard of Smartmatic, the Venezuelan voting system that not only was used during Hugo Chavez's re-election, but used in the 2020 US election? Now, I wonder, does Maduro have any vital information on corruption when it comes to the 2020 election, which may not be far-fetched because 3 executives from Smartmatic were charged under the Foreign Corruption Practices Act. So I guess time will tell. Make sure you guys hit up my YouTube, The Maverick Approach, but let me know what you guys think. Did Maduro make a deal? Let me know below.
Yo, I agree. What's with all the outfit changes? I ain't see this dude wear the orange jumpsuit yet. Shout outs to Maverick Approach. Doing an excellent job right here. That's crazy. That list was crazy. Like they're one of the last countries left on that list. Imagine if we get a press conference with a live confession from Maduro. I could see that happening. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.
They told you it was about oil, but what if I told you the US just stole $1 trillion in silver while everyone was watching the wrong headline? It was not a war, it was a resource extraction op. Look, less than 24 hours after the US invaded Venezuela, a deal was inked. A new $8 billion silver smelter facility financed by JP Morgan, jointly owned by the Department of Defense, to process Venezuelan silver. Why? Because JP Morgan was underwater on a physical silver short worth billions. They did not invade for oil, they invaded to bail out the bank. Comment scroll if you're ready for the real blueprint. I'll scan your scroll and remind you how you already won. Look, Venezuela sits on the Arco Minero, trillions in unmined gold and silver. JP Morgan gets caught rigging silver, pays $1 billion in fines, and now they just buy the smelter and rewrite the rules. And they did it with your tax money. The US military didn't just topple a regime, they cleared the path to mine collateral for a failing financial system. Comment scroll to decode your wealth timeline. What's coming next will crush the unprepared. Look, silver just crossed $75 per ounce. Physical silver is trading near and above $100 per ounce depending on where you live in the world, but JP Morgan and Comex are still manipulating paper prices. Meanwhile, crude oil is collapsing, and for the first time ever, the paper market is losing control. The return to sound money is here. Sovereign money, scroll-backed money, but it's not gold. It's the metal they tried to bury, silver. They didn't just build a smelter, they built an extraction funnel, and they're draining the vaults in broad daylight. You're either on the scroll-coded path, or you're the liquidity they're stealing from. Comment scroll if you're done playing their game.
Sounds like the fiat is collapsing. Shout out to Laura Gochiega. Make sure y'all go to her page and type scroll for more details. Yeah, this is definitely deeper than what the media is telling us. That's the scary part.
So apparently there was a white supremacist dating site, and it got infiltrated by an old school anarchist researcher. And this person who infiltrated goes by the name Martha Root. She spent the last couple of months collecting all of the data of a bunch of the members that are now public. And she did it by using AI to make these people fall in love with robots. They created a leak site called okstupid.lol, where you can see all the details of all the people who had profiles on white date. The bots were so convincing they bypassed the verification process and were even verified as white. Martha Root then dressed like a pink Power Ranger to protect her identity and went on stage at CCC, the Chaos Communications Conference in Germany that happens every year around the holidays. What did Martha Root do while dressed as a pink Power Ranger on stage at CCC? Ran a bunch of scripts, deleting the whole website. The audience erupted in applause when each of these steps marked done. Change the admin mail password, log into Hostinger, delete whitechild.net, whitedeal.net, whitedate vserver, deleted everything, deleted their backups. This went on for a few minutes. So Martha Root, Pink Power Ranger, spent months, made a bunch of white supremacists fall in love with AI chatbots, was so convincing that infiltrated and got data about so many of them, built a website to leak it all called okstupid.lol, and then nuked their entire everything from orbit. This might be one of the most legendary things to happen in hacker culture in a very long time.
It's morphin' time. Shout out to Martha Root, Pink Ranger, that's dope. Shout out to Matt J for bringing more context to the situation. The users were falling in love with AI robots. Like, yo, that's what you call a superhero.
You just wait for Cuba. Cuba is a communist dictatorship that's killed priests and nuns. They've preyed on their own people. Their days are numbered. We're going to wake up one day, I hope in 26, in our backyard, we're going to have allies in these countries doing business with America, not narco-terrorist dictators killing Americans. This is a big frigging day. And everybody in the world is thinking differently than they were just a few days ago because of what you did. We had Venezuela, we have Cuba, we have Colombia in our backyard. And these three countries have been condemned ever since I've been in politics.
Are y'all even seeing this right now? Probably not if you get all your information from the news. Because Iran, shut up, is going absolutely insane. Their prime leader has plans to escape into Russia. Meanwhile, holy cities are being overtaken and hospitals are being taken over right now as we speak. And coincidentally, unrelated completely at the same exact time, we have the former prime minister flipping over this hourglass saying from his own account, it is time. Meanwhile, of course, the US is threatening to strike Iran if they start going crazy, but yeah, it's already going crazy. Pizza trackers are going wild right now. And we have a ton of military movement going into Israel around Europe. Of course, we have the blackout in Berlin. Who knows why that is? We also just had audio leaks in which the president of the United States said that Colombia was next. At the same time, we have armed militias being under the Venezuelan government, under the military, calling for an uprising against the United States. By the way, here's the administration getting their information from Twitter? Now check out this part, this is wild. We have a cyber attack targeting Iran, right? But at the same exact time, there's a major blackout on the Russian Schumann frequency detector. You remember how we just talked about how they had technology, to turn the lights off in certain places? Remember, I just told you I had inside source tell me 2026 was the year of war, which came from higher ups in our military. Oh, by the way, Bibi just came out saying the Iranian people are awesome. The problem is the dictatorship. At the same exact time, the supreme leader of Iran is getting barraged on Twitter, people telling him to get nukes. So is this how the new year is going to go?
Listen, people, things are moving fast. Make sure y'all stay ready for anything. Shout out to the real Mo Henry. Like, there's just so much going on right now. It's like, whoa. And it's only the 5th day of the year.
Come on, take me. I'm here. I'm waiting for you in Miraflores, you coward.
You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States. Thank you, everybody.
If this can be done to dictators, then the U.S. knows what to do next.
Yo, we was talking about that fist on the live stream with the Economist magazine cover for 2026. Like a big Where's Waldo puzzle. Shout outs to Mr. Zamaznoy noticing the fist, just like Teddy Ganja did. That's crazy.
Did the United States capture Maduro to cut off China's oil? Let's get into it. China depends on cheap oil from countries that are under sanctions: Venezuela, Iran, and Russia. Venezuela is now out. China was getting about 400,000 barrels of oil per day from Venezuela, and we know now the United States is not going to allow that to happen. And Iran just entered its 8th night of national protests against the regime and is completely unstable, where China was getting 1.5 million barrels per day. Now, this is a very big deal because China has a strategic petroleum reserve. It's basically like a backup gas tank for the country. And right now, it has 90 days worth of oil. But if they stop getting it from Venezuela and Iran, that drops to about 45 days. And that is not enough oil to handle a naval blockade. This is important. Fight a war or survive a major global energy shock. And now today, you have President Trump saying that the United States needs to take over Greenland, which would block China from getting any oil coming from Russia, North Atlantic, or Europe. See, China imports 75% of its oil, and if it can't get it cheap anymore, it's going to have to pay way more per barrel, and overall, it's going to weaken their economy. So, do you think capturing Maduro had more to do with the United States getting oil, or was it a small puzzle piece in making sure that China stops getting theirs? Or both? As always, let me know what you think about all of this down below.
400,000 barrels off the table from 90 to 45 days. Yo, shout out to WFF News. Bringing the receipts. Yo, it's definitely going to have a global economic impact. There's no other way around it. And only time will tell what we'll see in the future or how fast we see it. It's crazy.
Tell me more about the jungles.
Go straight into that part. What I meant by nodes in the jungle is this. There are natural electromagnetic convergence points, geological hot zones where Earth's energy fields intensify or intersect. These exist around the planet, in Peru, Antarctica, the Himalayas, parts of Africa, and yes, deep in Venezuela, especially around the Orinoco River Basin and the Guiana Shield region. But here's the hidden layer. Hashtag geomagnetic nodes equals frequency gates. These aren't just interesting for geologists. These spots are like energy amplifiers. They affect biology, memory, and consciousness. In ancient times, people called them sacred sites or spirit portals. Now, militaries and corporations refer to them as strategic energy zones. Think of them like natural Wi-Fi towers, but instead of digital signals, they emit and amplify Earth's own magnetoelectric pulse. If you know how to tune in, you can manipulate frequency fields, impacting weather, thought patterns, and even emotion. There are ancient ruins, unmarked zones, and off-limits patches in Venezuela where weird anomalies happen. Compasses go haywire, satellite data glitches, people report visions or time distortion. These areas have been largely ignored in public discourse, but heavily monitored privately. Covert tech zones. There's strong evidence that private entities, possibly US, Chinese, or breakaway contractors, have embedded hidden tech or mobile research stations in these areas. Why? Because if you can control or manipulate a geomagnetic node, you can amplify psychotronic signals, disrupt or enhance weather patterns, HARP-style tech, influence mass consciousness, mask satellite data, or reroute surveillance. This isn't sci-fi, it's already being used. Some of these jungle regions are marked as ecological preservation areas, not to protect nature, but to keep people out. Why the jungle isn't covered. Venezuela's jungle isn't just remote. It's a perfect camouflage for experimental tech and energy manipulation infrastructure. It's dense, hard to access, full of myths, and nearly impossible to monitor from satellites without exposing hidden installations. The Guiana Shield itself is one of the oldest geological formations on Earth, dating back to pre-human time. That means the energy here is primordial, pre-programmed, untouched by the global grid, and therefore a threat to synthetic control systems. So, what do? Build frequency dampeners nearby, run eco-military joint operations to police the area, spread stories about narco-trafficking to justify airspace lockdown, hijack the land with mining permits or research projects. But the truth is they're guarding something and mapping how to use it. #DNA reactivation zones. Some of these sites in Venezuela, especially where ancient cave glyphs, undisturbed waterfalls, and magnetic anomalies exist.
It does sound like a sci-fi movie. It's crazy. Shout outs to KM Noir.
¡Wow, lo loco mío! La gente suya. Loco, aquí no hay tan chico. Coño, pero póngase esa quesada. Póngase esa quesada, paro. Vaya a por otro lado, aquí esto no es pasito para estar. Hey, man. But that's deep in the trenches, nigga. Nigga, that is holy shit. That's deep. Nigga got a living room full of water in that bitch. Nigga, in the TV on, nigga. They got cable, nigga. Nigga is that in the one nigga bathing on the floor in the lit. Cuz. Oh my God. And it's a whatchamacallit sitting in there. It's a damn whatchamacallit just in there, sitting in there chilling. What the fuck is going on in this bitch, nigga? This a concoction of bullshit, nigga. Oh my, and then he trying to kick a nigga out the house like the house ain't outside itself, nigga. It's rainwater in the crib, nigga. This bitch out, nigga. Just throw the whole house away. Fuck it, throw the bulldog, blow it up, fuck it. God damn, throw a Syntex in that bitch. What the fuck is going on?
Yo, what is going on? Shout out to Sly Cooper 3. They got the TV on. Yo, that's crazy. This is definitely a sign to be grateful, for sure.
Here in the floor, limestone, and this
Alabaster, yeah, right.
calcite crystal.
Right.
Same thing here on this wall. This is limestone. This is calcite crystal. So this entire section of the wall, this part here, and this part here, is all huge single slab. A calcite crystal.
Calcite.
Yeah, alabaster.
Yeah. Wow.
You see the difference
there.
The limestone and the calcite crystal.
Wow.
Mafish Noah? Who's going to show us?
Okay. Do you respect you?
All right. So he's going to show you.
Okay?
Yeah.
No statue, okay? Yeah. I know, okay? I see.
Okay, you see the figure?
Whoa.
You see the belly button and then the arms?
Yeah. Wow.
Baby.
Yeah. Incredible.
Okay?
Yeah.
One more.
No. Okay, take. Yep. Nothing. Nothing there. Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So you can see that the shadow figure is done using a different stoneworking technique than the glyphs that are inscribed on the wall.
How trippy was that? I can't even fathom the technology that's being used right now. They're just talking about rocks.
On the night of January 3rd, 2026, hundreds of witnesses across multiple states, centering around Missouri, saw a fireball light up their night skies. This happened around 6:16 p.m. in the evening, and nobody has an explanation for that. That it was captured on dozens of home security cameras and Ring doorbell cameras. Take a look at this video, comment below, tell me what you think. Fireball? Something else.
Shout out to Missouri. Shout out to the Paranormal link. It doesn't look like a fireball. Look like some type of interdimensional portal that's opening and happened to be caught on a doorbell cam. That's crazy.
It does not take thousands or millions of years for fossilization or petrification to occur. This is why there are so many mud fossil examples all around us. Check out this video by Kent Hovind. You can find the full video on YouTube as well. Great examples.
Here's petrified firewood. The guy chopped on it before it turned to stone. Here's mummified dog stuck in a tree. Turned to stone. Chased a coon up the tree apparently and got stuck. They named it Stucky. What would you call it, okay? Here's petrified cowboy boot with the cowboy's legs still in it. The boot was made 1950 and the leg is turned to stone. Here's petrified fish giving birth. It does not take millions of years to give birth. Praise God, okay? Here's a petrified hat. Petrified pickle found in a jar. The guy sent me the jar and pickle. He said, Brother Hovind, I found this in Montana in an old home. The house was junk. The roof was gone. The house was falling apart. But he said, you want a petrified pickle for your museum? I said, of course. Who in their right mind would not want a petrified pickle, you know? Come on down to Pensacola, Dinosaur Adventureland, and see the petrified pickle. Here's petrified sacks of flour found in a flour mill that flooded in 1910 in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Here's petrified toadstool. There's an amazing gem and mineral museum just south of Bloomington, Illinois, in a little bitty tiny town called Shirley, Illinois. You got to be trying to find it to get there, but it's worth going to see the Funk Gem and Mineral Museum. Okay, here's petrified acorns. This kid sent them to me. He said, Brother Hovind, I was 7 years old at the time. He said, I stuck these acorns in a bucket of water and I thought they might, sprout and make some trees, and I forgot about them. Next spring, my mama found the bucket on the back porch and the acorns had turned to stone. He said, would you like them for your museum? I said, of course. Come on down and see the petrified acorns. More on petrification on video number 6. So kids, when they tell you the layers are different ages, you tell them Kent Hovind said they're confused or they're lying. It is not correct. Those layers all formed, nearly all of them, at the time of Noah's flood. 80 to 85% of Earth's surface does not even have 3 geologic periods appearing in correct consecutive order.
So there's got to be some type of phenomena. My question is, what happened to the cowboy? The boot was made in 1950 and the leg was stone? That's wild.
I had AI make the prediction, and this is it. First one, by 2026, the public is told something non-human has interacted with humanity, but the real shock is that it's tied to ancient history, not outer space.
Like what? A virus?
No, like it's framed as interdimensional, pre-human, or an intelligence that co-developed with humanity. And they said how they're even shifting the language from alien to non-human intelligence. Second one, AI causes a psychological event, not just a scandal. So they're saying that there's a measurable mental health or social contagion event linked directly to AI interaction.
What does that mean?
So the government will respond by labeling it a public safety issue and not a tech issue.
Dude, it's already happening, and then people are gonna start like worshiping these things. So there's gonna be cults, like religious cults about AI.
Are we gonna have our first AI marriage?
Number 3, a major geophysical or solar event occurs that modern science struggles to explain in real time. Number 4, there's a sudden communications blackout or satellite failure that affects multiple countries.
How creepy would that be if the ISS just like went black?
Dude, I don't think anyone would believe it was real.
This was a spooky thing that AI said at the end of it. Humanity is not entering a new age. It's re-entering an old one with better tech and worse memory. So there's just saying like, yeah, you guys aren't anything new.
Same script, different props.
I need y'all to check out this video, and maybe you guys could shed some light onto what's going on over here. This guy's wife just purchased him some old monitor from some antique store, right? And now he compares it to his recent camera that he has to this day, right? But what's weird is his furniture don't show up on his old camera, on his old monitor. Look at that, y'all. But on his new camera of today's age, you can clearly see the monitor there, the Christmas tree. Look at that. You don't even see the Christmas tree. What is this? Who can explain this?
Okay, seriously, I need someone to help me out because I have no idea what's happening right now. My wife bought me like a vintage CRT monitor from the 1980s, okay? Of course, what do? I turn into a live camera feed via Camlink, but there's my things. Where's my furniture? Oh, wait, just watch this. This is crazy.
He sets his camera down so he can walk into frame, but look at this. Y'all, I didn't even notice, but even his clothes changed. Look at this. He's literally in another reality. It looks like even the house changes well too. Y'all know what's going on here?
How is that possible? There's my furniture. Where? What the actual fuck?
So what do you guys think is going on here? Is new technology somehow filtering our reality? Is this the reason why they took away these old phones from us and now give them the ability to update them themselves? So you guys know how our consciousness, our subconscious is what creates our reality. So what if these new phones are putting ideas into our subconscious minds? You guys are aware that our phones flashes every second and reads our facial expressions, which reads our minds, right? So do you guys think our phone and technology actually plays a part in what reality we live in? Would make sense, right? It's called a black mirror for a reason, right? And the black mirrors are one of the most powerful mirrors ever. But yeah, y'all, let me know what you guys think about this video, y'all. The shift is here. Let's get it. Everything changed. That's crazy.
That is crazy. Shout out to Conscious Juice. Shout out to Sean Does It. Now that's a phenomena. Looks like the camera's looking into the upside down. I wish when he walked into the living room, he actually sat on the couch. I think that would have brought extra light to this situation.
They don't realize they're inside the matrix. And for most people, they have never been educated. And they don't realize that they're in this trap, in this rat race where they will never be free and they will be forever slaves to the big government. So some people are fine being slaves. They don't mind it, unfortunately. But I would like to say that most of us don't like it. We like to be free in control of our own decisions. And the sooner we get illustrated by Bitcoin, the better. That's why I just wrote that book, The Bitcoin Enlightenment, with some co-authors. And it explains my deep distrust and how I despise fiat. And how I think fiat is the biggest fraud around, and that the only way to get out of that fraud is through Bitcoin. It makes you responsible. You got to learn to custody your stuff. Because that's another thing. oh, my money is safe. It's in the bank. I'm a banker, you know. I have a bank. I have 22 million customers. And I know all about the risks. People think that they took the money to the bank, put it there, and that they're probably sitting in the vault in the backside of the bank. It's not like that. The money's gone. You know, it's invested in it's been loaned to somebody to buy a house. That's what banks do, you know.
That's exactly right. That's exactly.
So the banking system is also heavily reliant on the central bank as a lender of last resort. And, you know, because we have the lender of last resort, then banks take on more risk than they should.
Yeah.
So there's an excellent book from the 18th century, 1800s, called Lombard Street. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything has been tried, discovered, and it's the same thing, you know. If you extend credit without corresponding savings, if you mismatch investment horizon with the deposit horizon, there's going to be a problem.
This pink sky isn't a filter, it's physics. During a blizzard, thick, low clouds packed with snow scatter shorter blue wavelengths of light. What makes it through are longer wavelengths, red and pinks, which dominate the sky. Fresh snow on the ground acts like a mirror, reflecting that light back into the cloud deck and intensifying the color. In the winter, the sun sits low on the horizon, forcing light to travel through more atmosphere and strengthening those warm tones. At night, even city lights can fuel the effect as they bounce off falling snow. The result is a rare storm-powered pink glow, created entirely by the science of light.
Let's pause for a moment and imagine something simple. What if this world is a simulation? If birth is not a miracle or punishment, but a loaded sequence. For 9 months, Avatar is prepared, just the body, but the conditions, where you will be born, what family you get, what obstacles shape you, what skills you will need to unlock later. Your birthday is not celebration of time. It is the activation of the aging program. Timer starts running the moment you enter the game. Depression, then, is not a weakness. This is what happens when the player grows tired of the role they are playing. The character no longer fits the inner directive, but the exit is not yet available. Those moments that people call spiritual attacks or interference could be other operators crossing paths with your instance, not demons in a fairy tale sense, but disruption in a system. Death, which is not punishment or reward, the level is not completed, the program shuts down, and the player is reassigned. Different avatar, new conditions this time, but same lessons. So here's my question. If this is a simulation, what level do you think you are currently playing?
Wow, that's a deep philosophy that takes the simulation theory to a whole nother level. Shout out to Azazel9. I think the question is, what are the levels? They say when you think you got to figure it out, you really know nothing. So I'm going to say I'm on level 1.
The United States is about to launch a massive attack on Latin America. I want to make this clear, this is purely speculation and a prediction based on historical context and what I'm seeing. Donald Trump just threatened the president of Colombia directly. He said the president won't be doing it for much longer. Quote, Marco Rubio also made a statement that if you are in Havana in a government building, you should be, quote, very worried. Trump also did not rule out going after cartels in Mexico. He said that Mexico's president is a very nice woman, but he said that the cartels are running Mexico. It's the last thing that gave it all away. Newsweek is reporting that Donald Trump said that we are going to revisit Greenland in about 20 days. Clock is now ticking for action. The assets off of Venezuela is not just for Venezuela. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are in the first firing shots of World War III.
That's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed the deep dive. If you enjoyed this video, please consider to give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. Shout outs to all the reactors. Thanks again. Till next time.